Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the TED Talk. New year, even though it's almost February already. I'm sorry for that, but New Year, another episode. It's been a long time since we've had one, but in 2024, we're aiming at a lot more episodes, a lot more interviews, and a lot more fun guests to talk to. But with that being said, let me introduce my next guest on the panel. It's Sprout's very own Mr. Slime, the 17, now 18-year-old Oper. HOTV, update that, please. You threw me off massively there, but yeah, how are you doing, my friend? What have you been up to
I'm doing very
recently?
good.
How was the Christmas holiday, the off season?
I'm doing very good, thank you. The Christmas, it was kind of hectic for us since we had the open quals in the start of the year, so we didn't actually get too much break. We had a couple of days between Christmas and New Year's, but even then we still pracked, because we got Siphon back
Mm-hmm.
from the heroic trial, so we still had to prac with him in the beginning, and we also had to uh, plan our boot camp. So we actually the 1st of January we went to Germany to boot camp. So yeah, we actually didn't get too much break, and yeah, it was still just CS all the time.
That's one of the things that I actually wanted to talk about a little bit, by the way, because uh, your career officially started in Bromby at the start of
Yeah,
2023. So this was like the first official like big off season that you had, because in the summer when you were kind of transitioning between the academy and the main team still, right? So
yeah.
how did it feel? How did you manage to get some time with your family, or did you have to sacrifice a lot of it? Because it feels like the season ended really late for you guys towards the mid part of December, but as you pointed out, you had to go for a boot camp straight away. Do you feel like that affected you a little bit, or do you feel well rested?
I feel like right now I'm in a stage in my career where I just want to play a lot, and like playing all of those officials, like officials every day and prac every day, and that it doesn't really bother me that much. Of course, it's kind of hard sometimes because I have a girlfriend, and it's
Okay.
sometimes that you can't spend time with them all the time is kind of hard sometimes. But it's also I'm just enjoying life right now. You're kind of blessed if you're 18 years old and you just play video games all day for a
Yeah,
living. So
you're too hungry to feel
yeah,
even a little
like
bit of burnout at this stage. Yeah.
you can't complain too much. And
Yeah.
also, I haven't really been doing it for that long. Like Sprout Academy was full time, but we still had 1, 2 off days every
Hmm.
week. So it was just like going to school. I felt like, whereas this main team is like it's a full time job, plus all of your spare time, because you can just be there like the hours say in the calendar. Like okay, you have to prac from 12 to 18. But if you don't also put the work in after prac and all of that stuff, then you're not gonna cut it anyway. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of more hours than yeah what Sprout Academy was, or the Bonbu team you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna have a bit of a more in-depth talk about the academy and the main team like transition later on. But now I wanted to go back. Well, I was gonna say go back in time. For you, going back in time is just a couple years ago, and this is the part where I start feeling a little bit old at 22. But talk to me about the initial let's say meet and greet that you had with CS. When did you start playing? Was CS the first video game that you started playing a little bit more seriously? Just in general, your history with CS and video games.
I think video games has always been a big part of my life. My dad is he's a programmer, not a video game programmer, but he's always been into computers and video
Yeah.
games. So I've always been introduced to them very early on. I remember when I was very young, I was playing on my Xbox. My dad he had an Xbox 365, and I
Hmm.
was playing games on that. And then later, I think when I started in school, I got my first PC where I was playing whatever video games my friends were playing at the time. Uh, and I think that just like naturally, when we became older, we started playing Counter Strike because we had to see what was up with that game. And I think I was just a very competitive. I'm very competitive, and I think back then I just started. Okay, I want to be better than my friends because they'd already been playing for a couple of time. I think this
Hmm.
was in was it like in 2016? I think I started like December or something. I think I got the game as
Okay.
a Christmas present
All
from my
right.
parents.
Oh,
And
so you were like 10 when you started playing CS.
yeah, like 10, 11, because I
Yeah.
have birthday like right after Christmas.
Yeah.
So, or like I had played the game before, but I didn't have the game myself. Like I'd played at friends' house and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but when I was like those 10, 11, I started playing, and like back then it was just for fun. It was just matchmaking, and just having fun with the game, playing with my friends and trying to see or who is the best AWPer, who can hit the most eagle shots, and like we did all of that stuff.
Yeah. Do you remember if there was a specific person that got you fired up? Like, was there, because, for example, for me, when I started, because I started around 2016, obviously I was like 15, 16 years of age back then, but for me, it was looking at, let's say, the old French guard like Shocks, all those guys, Cloud9 when Shroud was still playing on. Then you had the Danes like Norv, like MSL Config and blah blah blah. Did you have a specific like set of players or even one guy that fired up your love for the game a little bit more?
I think when I started to become a little better at the game, like the hitting some of the top ranks in matchmaking and being better on Faceit, of course you start to like pivot towards the pro scene a little, and you have to see, okay, what's up with these guys and why are they so good, and am I as good and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I think initially, like, because I think this is what every player just does, like they go to the best mechanical players, and I think like at the time, Scream was like one of those like the one tap machine and
Mm.
whatnot. I think not really the player, like I don't idolize him in that way, but I always felt like the way he always talked about how you get good, just play deathmatch. Like it was always so like intuitive to me that I liked it. Uh, like okay, I just have to play a lot of deathmatch and then I'll be one of the best.
Okay,
And I
but you
think
didn't get
that approach I
introduced to the
like.
pro scene before that. Like you started playing the game simply because you liked it and played it with other friends, and then later on when you
Yeah,
became good, you started kind of getting to know the pro scene. Is that right?
yeah. Then I started like really nerding it out, like watching who won the majors back then and who is like good now and like all of that stuff.
Okay, so you didn't have a specific favorite player or a team. You just like that Scream was really upfront about just play that match and you headshot people.
Yeah, like all of the mechanical players. I also think like Nico and all of those guys, like they were just play a lot of just play the game a lot, and like they had all of those insane highlights. I think it's a very standard answer to have, that you just like the guys who hit the insane shots, like Simple, Scream,
Hmm.
Nico, all of those guys. Also Twist back then when he was the first time on Liquid.
Yeah.
It was just okay. Those guys, I can follow what they're doing because they're just hitting headshots. Like it's that's not really like, it's a concept that everyone can follow, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's just like it just intuitively just uh, felt like it just made sense in my head. So I guess that's just what I started liking.
Okay, okay. And when did you start feeling about, or well, thinking about actually, feeling like CS could be a job for you? When did you start thinking that it's not just you proving to yourself that you're as good as those guys, or how close am I to Simple? How close am I to this guy, to that guy? When did you start saying, okay, maybe there is a career for me. Maybe I can make a living out of that shit.
I think uh, I think I have a very unusual like story with Counter Strike, since I never really wanted to become a pro player
Okay.
in the beginning and for a long time. And then I went to boarding school. It's not really boarding school, but it's like the best term for it. Where I had Haste, he's the analyst for NIP right now.
Hmm.
Where uh, he introduced me to Team CS and this. Also Basil from Copenhagen Wolves, he's also a teacher there. And they kind of introduced me to the scene, and I found out that I actually like playing the game. But when it's a school team, it's like it's kind of limited how good they can be. And I remember at the time I was like, I think I had almost 5,000 elo, and the next highest elo had like 2.2k or something.
Okay.
So it's like they couldn't really match me, and I ended up dropping out. And then I started on Bonby in the start of last year. And I think that's kind of when it clicked in my head that okay, if I grind hard enough and if I really try now and become better, I could actually do it. And then it all just went so fast, like 1 year from not really wanting to become anything to being on the main team of Sprout, right?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
it just kind of went so fast that like you don't even realize it. Also because there's so much to think about. Oh, I signed with Sprout Academy. Now I have to go on a boot camp. Now I
Yeah.
have to practice all the time. And like, how does my day look like? And now I don't go to school. Everyone else is going to school. What am I doing with my life? And all of that stuff.
This is something I wanted to ask you about, by the way. Did it feel we're gonna get into that? What does a day of in your life look like? But did it feel a little bit surreal going to school and then having a subject or like knowing that on your school agenda today you have playing CS with the team of the school? How did that feel?
I think it's actually quite natural, for some odd reason, because in Denmark you have like this 10th grade, which is where you can go to these boarding schools, where you usually have like a subject. For example, on the school I went to, they also have like horse riding
Okay.
or like dirt bike.
Yeah, so you have
So it's
like a
just
free activity that you can
yeah,
pick.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, it was just I think it was just my hobby playing Counter Strike. So it's just like, oh cool, I can be taught by, back then he was the what's it called, the analyst for Heroic, and Heroic was the best team in the world back then. So it's like, I can be taught Counter Strike for him. Like that can't be bad at all, right? Um, so I think that was just like, it was just nice knowing that all of your friends, the guys you are living around because you are living at the school, they
Hmm.
all have the same interest as you. Like they're all just playing Counter Strike, and they all uh, find the game like interesting, and they all, like, I think all of them had like a dream of going pro or going to like in the big Danish leagues or and playing there. So it's just uh, kind of nice just having people that are passionate about the thing you're passionate about,
Yeah.
because I don't really think you find that in like just a normal school, because then there's all of the other students, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
here it's like everyone has the same hobby and passion.
Yeah, it surely makes it easier. But one thing that I wanted to, because you kind of gave me a hint there. You said that you don't go to school anymore. I want to pick your brain on this one a little bit. How's school life working out for you now? Like, are you trying to balance it with CS, or do you have any I guess academic aspirations right now, or are you fully paused on that part of things and you're just focused on CS?
Right now I just fully paused it. When I dropped out of boarding school, it was kind of too late taking because you could take like the gymnasium
Hmm.
instead, and I decided that the first exams were already over, so I'd wait till summer. But then I got the Sprout Academy offer, and that was a full time playing. And then I think my parents always like, okay, this is a once in a lifetime thing. Like I should just try it. And then in Denmark we are so we have free education, so it's like you can take it anytime. So if I want to take it in 5 years, if I feel like CS is not the thing anymore, I can just do it. Like, and then then I had the time to be pro in CS, and I had the time to feel like what it was like being a pro player. And yeah, I think I wouldn't give that up to be educated faster, especially not if I can have the chance of being one of the best in these years.
Okay, so what I'm getting from this as well is that your parents are really supportive of your career, right?
Yeah, they're really supportive.
Okay, that's great to hear, man. And this is, by the way, this is uh, a bit of a I guess tendency that I'm getting from most Scandinavian players. I was about to ask you if you've ever had those. I guess you just answered that, but for example, because Nilo, who's on Metisport right now, who is on the Young Ninjas, right? He took a
Yeah.
break off of CS to focus a little bit more on school, about like 8 months or something like that. He left the Young Ninjas, then he went to school, or at least this is the story that got to me, obviously, and then he came back. Did you have a moment in your, I guess, route when you were like, okay, you know what, maybe I can take a little bit of a break on CS, just finish off all those boring things that I don't wanna deal with, school and stuff like that, and then come back to CS? Or was it just like, as you said, one time opportunity, I'm just gonna go for it, I don't give a damn about education right now?
I think in the uh, end of Sprout Academy, like I had in Sprout Academy, I was thinking about maybe doing some single subjects. So like it's not as hard, and like you can study once a week, and you can pass an exam at the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
And like then you can study for a couple of hours a week. And I was thinking about that, but then Wonderful got sold to Navi, and again then I was like, okay, now this is it. Like this is now there's like one step left to being in the big leagues.
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, then it's not really worth it. And especially with CS2 coming out, it was like I felt like everything just went on pause, because now it was just CS2 and you have to learn that game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
You just fully
so
focus on
yeah,
that. Okay,
yeah. So
so
I have thought about it, but I don't
mm,
really think it was like, now it doesn't make sense for me anymore, because
okay.
that close.
All right, all right. With that, I think we can move into you getting into Sprout Academy. So, talk me through that process, because you just said that obviously when you were playing on boarding school and all those crew teams, you kind of felt like you were well above the level of everyone else. So when you joined Sprout Academy, how is the experience different now being officially right? Even though on an academy team, you still are a professional player, right? You still are under a contract. You need to follow a schedule. You're working with coaches, with analysts, with the main team every now and then. So just talk me through the experience for the first couple of months, because your tenure on the academy team wasn't too long either.
I think the main thing is that you get a lot of confidence because you see people like Barry and I was in the like I was Barry. He talked with me before he talked with Feet. So like knowing that a coach like Barry had seen something in you was like that. Of course, feels great. So you get a lot of confidence in yourself that you're doing at least something right. Um, and then I think initially when we started the academy team, I I think I was probably uh, one of the worst on the team. Like I was
Okay.
definitely not the best because also I was also the guy with like the least experience. Like me and Seko, we had like little to no team experience. Like I had with Bonby and he had almost nothing, and then etc. He had with Ego, the
Hmm.
Polish orc, and FNK he had with Prodigies, and Thousand he of course had with Masonic. So they all had like so many maps on HLTV, and I didn't have a single, and it was just like they were just much more experienced and like just better players than me back then. At least in Team CS, they knew how the stuff was supposed to work. So I think in the beginning it was just a lot about trying to figure out how I didn't abuse my mechanical skill and more try to like learn how to work in the system and really be a part of a team. Because in Brøndby we were still on a level where mechanically I was better than everyone, so it was just it didn't matter because I can just shoot him.
Yeah.
But now it was like at a level where okay, I might be better mechanically, but they have flashbangs, so you
Yeah.
can do whatever you want.
Yeah, and even if you are better mechanically, you're just
Uh,
gonna be, especially when you get into the main team, when you're playing some of the better academy teams, you're gonna
uh,
be better mechanically with that type of a margin, right? It's
yeah,
not gonna be the difference between 2k elo and 5k elo on face it, right?
no, no,
Yeah, you're not
not at
gonna be
all.
able to get away with everything. What was the, I guess, what part did Barry and Feet play in you growing up as a player? Which do you feel like were the most beneficial things that you've learned from them? Obviously, you're still learning from both of them, but uh, I wanted to focus as well on the inside of the server, inside of the game aspect, as well on the outside of it, right? Because it feels like obviously you go into the team. Back then, you were a 17-year-old kid coming in from playing on Bromby for a couple months. Your career has started just half a year ago, and now you're in a professional organization, and you gotta focus on results. You gotta focus on just being a pro, essentially. So, what was their impact? Did you have any outside of the server conversations? How did you feel that they made it easier for you to kind of adapt into the scene?
I think with Barry, it's very obvious. Like he's just a smart guy, right? Like he just knows how to play Counter Strike, and he knows that very well. So like it was very easy talking to him, and he's very open to also like just saying if you came up and asked him, okay, I have troubles with this. Can you help me with whatever? And then he would help me even when I was on the academy team. I think Feed's job was a little harder because it is an academy team, so some players are just not as good as you might expect, or
Yeah.
some players need more. Like, and I was also one of them in the beginning, right? That needed a little bit more time to learn the game and the know-hows of how it works in playing in a team. And I think Feed was more the mental side of the game, like having a level head, not tilting, not being like, oh, what is this idiot doing now in the game, and like all of this. I think Feed had a much bigger impact, and I actually think Feed had a bigger impact on me when I was no longer on the academy team,
Okay.
because I think he back then it was like uh, I think he has a special way to play, and I think it was very hard for me to understand that way of playing, or like playing with how I want to play the game.
Could you emphasize a
Uh,
little bit more on that? Like, obviously, don't give away the entire strat book of Feet
like
and
like like I
all the
just
secrets, but
Yeah, I just think he's a very tactical coach and a guy who really likes those like in-depth detail.
okay.
And I think I'm a guy who I play a lot on intuition and all of this stuff. So, and I actually think he was really good at just saying, okay, you have these moments where you just read the game, so just do whatever you want, right? But I just think I had a hard time. Maybe it was not even feed. Maybe it was more like it's just an academy team, so people are just not as good as they are, of course, on the main team. So
Yeah.
it's just harder to kind of like mesh with the players and know what's the correct reaction and what should I say. And I think feed was very critical of me, and I didn't understand that back then because I thought he's just criticizing me because he doesn't like me. Like that was
Yeah,
just what I
yeah.
thought.
You thought he was
But
just
I
picking
think
a fight with you. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and it was like I was always just thinking, why are you always talking about me? Like the others also do stupid shit, but then you never talk about that. But like now I know it's because he was like he knew that I could be better than what they were back then, and I think he also saw that back then that I was really good, and that he just wanted to see okay they can do like 70% mistakes, and I will not say anything, but you cannot do any mistakes because I know you can be very good.
Yeah.
And it's also what we talked about after that. He said like he told me all of this stuff. And especially after like I stopped in the academy team, like he's been talking a lot about like how you should be outside the server, how you should be in game, how you can help your mental, how um like all of those like 1% things that can make a big impact in the long run. I think that's what he's helped me the most with, especially after the academy team.
Yeah. This is, by the way, it's really fun thing because I feel like a lot of young players are taking this one personal, and this is really normal. But Feed has just introduced you to the Balkan approach of teaching people that we care
Uh,
about how to do things. It's just like, no, you're being stupid. You don't do that. You never do that. Do better. That's pretty much what the Balkan approach is. So yeah, it
yeah.
kind of it kind of makes a lot of sense. It sounds like something that has happened, and apparently it's worked out because now you're a hell of a better player than you
uh,
were half an year ago. So apparently Feed's
uh,
approach is the right one, right?
yeah.
But with that being said, talk me through the, I guess, adaptation between the academy team and the main team. Did you feel like that was a swift transition for you? Obviously you had a couple Danes as well on the main team outside of Barry himself, who obviously would make it a lot more comfortable for you. But then you had Rouse, you have Zyphon. So every single time you've been a part of, well, since you joined the main team, there's been 3 Danes on the lineup. So how was the adaptation, and did the fact that you have a couple countrymen, like a couple fellows on the team, make it a bit easier for you?
I think especially that with a lot of them being Danish helped a lot, since you just feel more at home, right?
Hmm.
But I think I was when I joined, I I would say I was still kind of leaning towards my mechanical skill being what was carrying me through, and
Yeah.
maybe still in the academy leagues it kind of worked, and it was like it was okay to do still, but now it's like now you can't do that anymore. And I think I really got punished in the beginning because I was still kind of just leaning towards just being mechanically better than people. And I really think when I joined the main team, like I got smashed so many times. I remember one of the first games I had was against Bad News Eagles on an overfast T side, and I got 0 kills. And like they were just smashing me, insta headshotting me, and like it was awful. Like I think the first couple of like maybe even the first month, I was so bad.
Yeah.
And I just got smashed over and over again. I just keep being bad. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what am I doing wrong? And then I just had a lot of talks with Barry and like watching all of my demos through with him, and uh, I think that really helped me to, uh, learn how to actually be an AWPer, because he also said in the beginning, I'm not playing like an AWP. Like, I'm playing like I just play Face It, and stuff is going on around me. And he
Yeah.
said sometimes it's okay, but of course, like you should just play like a normal AWP. Like you should just learn how to be the Sun Piases of the world, just like holding the angles for a team, being the support, uh, like just like all of the things that makes you like just a normal over, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Because I was good at doing the weird stuff like jumping through smokes and no scoping and quick scoping and combat orbing and all of this weird stuff. And he said, and they have always said that it's so weird that I was good at that, but I was so bad at just holding angles and just doing like the most normal things with AWP. Like I couldn't do it. I didn't know how to do it, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think
It
that's what had to change before I became just a little bit better.
it kind of rings a bell with how Draken was a couple years ago. You remember, right?
Yeah.
With how, like, you put him in the most ludicrous of situations, and he's gonna land the flick, he's gonna land the shot, and you're gonna be like, oh my god, I'm losing my mind. How has he just done that? And then you're gonna put him to hold an angle, and he's gonna miss every single sitter in the world.
Yeah.
But I guess this is something that a lot of young opers go through, right, as well. I feel like obviously you look at people like if you want another example from the Academy League, you look at somewhere like Art Frost, who's as well a pretty I'd say he's a pretty flashy oper too, right? And
The goat.
most of the time, yeah, most of the time you gotta go through that, right? Because when you're an academy guy, you're going into the big CS and you're like, oh, or you're used to just out killing everybody in the server, as you said, right? You're used to being able to get away with every single mistake that you do in the server. But I guess it's the natural way to go. And one other thing that I wanted to ask you in terms of obviously now in the line of history, you've joined this proud main team. Do you feel like now with the experience that you have playing on a couple teams, not too many, but a couple, do you feel like you can describe what makes you comfortable within the team? What kind of what type of surroundings do you need in order to feel comfortable as a player and as a person within a team?
Uh, I think the first thing is probably like with the calling. I think I need a very free calling style to be able to play. Uh, it's also very meta now that your Orba is talking a lot and saying a lot of the stuff he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm even more like I need a little bit more leash to do whatever I want and to say, okay, sometimes it doesn't make sense what I'm doing, but I just have to do it because I like that's how I play the best.
Okay.
Um, and I think the second thing is, uh, I think I need to be surrounded by players that are better than me. Uh, I think that really motivates me to play and to become even better. Uh, and I think it's also a big part of like playing on teams. I think on almost every team I've joined, like okay, I only have 3 teams, right? But I've been either the worst or like the second worst. So it's like always learning from people and trying to uh, learn from their game and from like what they're doing good. Uh, I think it's very important for me. And it's also a big factor on I think why I developed so fast
Mm-hmm.
because I really enjoy when people are better than me and I can get to look at them close up. Like especially like the one I'm looking at the most right now is probably like CJ from from our team. Like I don't know how he's playing. Like it makes no sense in my head, but yeah, it would be nice if I could sometimes think like he could. He does because he's like I think he's one of the. He just plays on intuition, and I think his intuition is really good. And I think it's something that you can't learn because it's just something natural, but it's something you can try to understand. And I think for me, that's what's the most interesting right now in
Yeah.
like my teammates.
I was gonna ask about your relationship with Sijot because it kind of feels like obviously you spent only 4 months on the academy. He even spent less than that. He spent like a month or two on the academy, and then you joined the main team in the same time. And even though Sprout has been going through a lot of roster changes, it feels like the two of you, alongside Rouse, have just stuck together, right? But then it's a lot different. I'd assume that it's a bit more comfortable to have a guy that's around your age a little bit. You're coming out of the same place, so to speak, because you're both academy projects, and both of you are kind of getting used to the main team atmosphere in the same time and on the same speed. Do you feel like that helps you out a little bit? And what's your relationship like?
I think uh, we were more, back then it was when we started with Spook, Siphon, Ralston, and me and him.
Yeah.
And I think back then it was more that we were the young guys on the team. They're a little bit older than us, like Spook and like especially Ralph, of course, and but Spook and Siphon, they're also like they're just older than we are, right? So they just have, you're just more mature when you're
Yeah.
older, and
Yeah.
I think we were more kind of the same. Like we were still the children of the team,
Mm-hmm.
the kindergarten. Um, and I think of course like then you're just gonna have some connection with them, right? We also are both like kind of crazy players. We like just do a lot of crazy shit that people don't understand, and yeah, I think it's like we just connect better because we both understand those type of plays, and then also of course we play on sites together almost on every map. So it's like we are together 24/7, like in the server. So I also think that has a big impact, and like we know how to talk to each other, how to like if he wants to fix something, like he knows how to approach, and I feel the same way about him. Uh, yeah, I think it made it easy in the beginning that there was something like someone a little younger than me. He's also a year younger than I
Yeah.
am, and I think that definitely helped a lot.
Yeah, yeah, I would assume so. I would assume so. I mean, we're not throwing anybody under the bus. Rawls, you're perfectly healthy. You're in your peak right now. But yeah, there is a bit of an age difference, and as you said, experience gap that it's impossible for it not to matter. With that being said, though, you have stuck together with each other in rounds for the majority of the time. But then outside of that, there was a lot of roster changes happening in the team around that. Do you feel like how did you feel like the roster changes affected your performance as a player?
I think I'm still at a time where I actually first think I began to play uh, well after our bootcamp here in Germany.
Okay.
I think my performance before that was a lot about knowing how to play and knowing like the in and outs of everything. Um, and I think the roster changes didn't really affect me because I'm still the AWPer. Like I'm not getting any role changes. I'm still just like the same. I'm just doing the same still. Uh, I think, to be honest, I don't really think the roster changes affected me. I think what affected me the most was just that I was still trying to learn the game and like try to become good at the game and be on level with the rest of the team.
Okay, okay. And I guess with that being said, we've caught up a little bit with the most recent things. You said you went to a boot camp on the 1st of January, by the way. No partying, which is a bit sad, but hey, it is what it is. I didn't party either, I was sick. But
Oh,
yeah, you went to a boot camp on the 1st of January. You had a couple weeks to prepare. How did that prep go leading into the open qualifiers? Because I was gonna ask you about that. Well, yesterday, obviously,
yeah,
you won the rest spring 2024 qualifier, which was
yeah.
a successful open qualifier at last. But you missed out on qualifying for the RMR. Then you had the IM China qualifier that didn't go that well as well. What do you feel like was the problem throughout those qualifiers? And do you feel like you still had a good couple weeks of preparation before that? What went wrong, pretty much?
Yeah, we had 1 week preparation before the open qual started. I think they started the 8th or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. They started early, right? So we had a week preparation, and somehow the packs went so well. Like we were smashing everybody. We were just, I felt like nothing could go wrong for us. Like we were winning and we were winning big. Like even against a lot of tier one teams and a lot of good teams, we were just playing well. And it was not because of individual. Like it was because every individual showed up and everyone was taking initiative and all of this. And I think, of course, the major matters a lot, and especially like these qualifiers to the major matters a lot. But I think they ended up mattering a little too much for us. So we ended up just becoming nervous, and people were not playing their own game. People were not playing the same. They were not um, taking the same risk. I think especially me and CJ, we are like players that are taking a lot of risk, but we are like, I think I like to think that we're good at it. Um, and I think when we have stopped doing that and we stopped getting like those entries and those kills and those plays, I think uh, like the cookie just crumbles, right? And also with some of the other players, like I think like we also had other players like people stop taking initiative and like what to call and what to do. And then I think our entire game just changed, and I think that's kind of what cost us our run in the open qualifier. I think there was no one who thought that we would go as far to the major. No one was expecting it, but I think at least going to day two or going to the close qualifier would have been nice. Yeah, but it is what it is, and I think we learned a lot from from losing out on the open qualifier. Yeah, that I think will help us in the long run.
Is the mental aspect something that you focused on after those open qualifiers? And are you working with? I'm not aware of the fact, but does Sprout have a sports psychologist that you guys are working with to make sure that you kind of, I guess, work on those issues so that they don't occur a second time?
Right now we don't have a mental coach, but I also think that uh, what we were lacking in the open quals was like something that we like it was just something we were not aware of that I think especially Barry and Rouse made us aware of. And I think especially for us that was hit the hardest by this like this pressure.
Hmm.
Something that we are taking like it's something we're thinking about. I also think like we also did quite well in this IM Chengdu qualifier.
Yeah.
We beat I think it was 500.
Yeah,
I
you
think
beat
we beat.
500. I hoped you
Yeah,
would lose that game, by the way.
from
I'm
the
sorry.
crazy comeback.
Yeah.
We had
I
crazy
hoped you
team
would
that come
lose
back.
that game. I'm not gonna lie, but you played well.
Yeah, that was a crazy game. And I think actually what happened the second day was that like people were just not woken up. Like people just didn't meet up. I think
Hmm.
like Bad News Eagles is a good team, and when they start to do their crazy shit, like it can just go wrong, right? Like they can
Yeah,
just start rolling away with it,
it's
which
like a
also
team
happens
of
for us.
UNC shots, but
Yeah,
five people like
exactly.
that. Yeah,
And they're all on the same page with it. Like it's so crazy to play against them. But I think it was more that we didn't have the same focus as we did the day before. And like when we look back at it, a lot of the mistakes we did, like mistakes that we don't really usually do if we are like on point and like we're focused from start. So I think that just affected us a lot, especially I think Anubis, where we basically thought we had won the first map,
hmm,
and then we just end up throwing it. I think then for the second map, people like, oh shit, we're losing, and oh how can we throw this, and again like people are not really woken up yet, and they're still like not as focused as they were yesterday. And then I think it's just an off day, I guess is the best way to describe it. I think if we played better, then we could have probably, or if we played up to what we did the day before, I think we could easily have either won or at least made it closer or like whatever, right? Anything could have happened then.
yeah, yeah. You never know. Well, on a final note with open qualifiers and stuff, as we said yesterday, well, the day before recording that interview, obviously. You won the Rest Spring 2024 Open Qualifier, but this time you played with Sdaim because Zyphon got benched and put on the transfer market like a couple days ago. So, how do you feel about playing with Sdaim? Obviously, he's not on the main team yet. He's not an official signing, right? But you've been playing with him for a couple days. But do you feel like you've just grown up a little bit and now you're like, oh, this young Padawan, this is where I was a couple months ago? And how has playing with yet another roster changed, but this time bringing in a completely like new guy to the system, replacing one of the, I'd say, more solid Danish opers in Zyphon?
I think there's not just like he just drops 150 rating every match. It feels like, he's just I think he's really good in his roles, and he's talking, but he's not taking space like in the team speak. Like he's just giving good info, and I think he's honestly really good at the role he has been given, and he's a really solid player. And then of course he has insane mechanics. He's just going out insta headshotting people. Like I remember this match against Priest, like you're not doing anything, and then he's just like, kill fun on this side. Can I just come and plant? And you're like, what the fuck just happened? Like, it's been crazy playing with him. Like I don't know, he's so good apparently. Like I remember we thought like we just had a couple of days before this Priest match. We were like, who should we get? And it's like, this guy, he seems okay. And then we tried him, and I just thought, what the fuck? Like, how is this guy only 110 rating on HLTV? Like, he's just fucking people up. Like, it
Yeah.
was so weird playing with him. He was so good, and he was like talking a lot, and he also doesn't seem shy. So when he came into the team, like, he had a lot of ideas, and I was like, oh, like this I like to do, and okay, in my past team we did this, and this worked really good against this, and if things are not working, he's like, okay, I want to talk about this because I feel like we were weak here, and like I think he's a very cool player and like a very good guy.
Okay, that's really nice to hear. So things are
Mm.
well right now in the Sprout camp, even though you don't officially have a 5 man roster. From what I'm getting, things are going all right. Uh, on a final note, before because I have like two bonus questions that I want to ask you that don't specifically have anything to do with your current situation and whatnot. But uh, have you guys set any goals for yourselves as a team for the next couple months?
Um, I think we have a lot of individual goals for ourselves.
Okay.
I think especially for me, it's about being more consistent because I don't know how like I don't know what's happening for me. Like it's crazy how inconsistent I can be sometimes. And I think that's something that I really want to approach and try to be learn about more about like how I can just keep having those like pop off games. And I think for the team, now that we missed out on the RMR and all of this, I think it's just about grinding these qualifiers. Like there's also the next China qualifier, the 29th, we're also playing. And I think it's just about getting results in these because right now everyone is focused on the RMR. You could also see Prezi against us, like they have just smashed some like I don't know, like top 30 teams, top 40 teams, like they're just playing really well, right, in the RMR, and
Yeah.
they qualified for the RMR, and then they play against us and they just like they look like faced players, right? And I think this is our biggest advantage right now, that people have bigger things to look at,
Mhm.
and that we need to become like we need to be like the one win where you just win every other tournament, right?
Yeah,
And
it's kind
try
of
to
like you're in the
yeah
role of, if you follow Premier League football, a couple of years ago, Leicester. You go into
yeah
the league fight, and then everyone else is playing. Everyone else is playing FA Cup, Carabao Cup, European tournaments, Champions League, Europa League, and then you're like
yeah
Premier League only, tunnel vision. I'm playing only
mm,
that, not doing anything else.
yeah
That sounds like something that could work out. I mean, it's as you said, the Parisi game. I was gonna give as an example for that. That's a perfect example of how teams could get, I guess, worked down a little bit with the schedule when it's a little bit more intensive. But with that being said, I wanted to add on a bit of a bonus question about CS2. And you said that you're a crazy oper by nature, and you love combat oping and whatnot, just jumping through smokes and stuff like that. Do you feel like it's as easy to do that in CS2 now? How do you feel about oping in CS2? Do you like it as much as you liked it in CS:GO?
I think the main thing for me has been the way you're holding angles for me has been like different. I think no scoping, quick scoping, all of this stuff is completely the same for me. Like I can't feel a difference. But holding angles is so different for me. Because before I was always holding like kind of tight in the angles. But I feel like now you have to more predict, like you have to do with like when you have a rifle, you predict if they're gonna crouch peek or if they're gonna strafe wide or close to the angle. I think you have to do this with AWP as well now. Like you have to predict, okay, are they gonna like wide swing or are they gonna peek close?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the like I know my reaction time is not slower, right? Like it's not like like it doesn't happen one day to the other, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened there, and I think that's the only difference and like adjustment I really needed to do to like open CS2. I think the rest is just fine and kind of the same. Of course, you have to worry a little bit more about rifles because they are a little bit better now, and and with the angles in CS, like the orb is just slightly worse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also with the when you're shot in the stomach and you get the aim punch when you're zoomed in, I think like that's not too bad. But when you're in mollies and it happens, like it's the worst. And I
Okay.
think, but besides that, it's just the same. Like I don't know, it's just
Okay, so
shooting people.
you don't feel like there is that big of a difference. You are getting
No,
used to
no.
it. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I also think a lot of it is just people are used to CS:GO and are used to the mechanics in that game, and I think people are approaching CS2 like it's a copy of CS:GO. And I think I also had that approach in the beginning. I was like, why is this game so shit? It's not CS:GO. But I think you just have to realize that everything is just a new game, right? And you can complain about the stuff that doesn't make any sense, but you also just have to learn the new mechanics because the mechanics are just different. People are hitting more headshots. It's easier to hit heads with this uptick, and it's easier to wide swing. The biggest advantage is there, and I think the biggest takeaway for people should probably be that you are just like you just have to adapt to the new game. It's no longer a CS:GO mechanic, it's CS2 mechanics, and that's what you have to work with right now. And if they change them to CS:GO, great. Like it is what it is. But right now, it's the only thing you can do is play with the CS2 mechanics and try to master them. And I think you do this the same way you did in Go. Like you just play deathmatch and you play the game. You play your pucks, you play your scrims. Like, I think that's not really more into it than that.
Okay, okay. I really like that answer. I really like that answer. And as a final thing, which is a bit more of a, I'd say, it's a bit of a of a wider question. Let's put it that way. It's one of those. It's one of those really annoying questions that people get asked, like movie stars get asked when they go on a Hollywood Friday night show, and they're like, "Oh, how do I answer that shit?" So I tried to change it a little bit for you to make it a bit more interesting. But uh, what do you feel like the perfect version of you would look like? Like, where do you want to see yourself in, let's say, 5 years, 5 or 6 years? And I guess a bit of a bonus to make it a little bit easier for you if you want to escape the, all around person answer. What are the characteristics of the best possible CS player? Like, what does the best possible CS player, the best professional, look like in your eyes?
I think the best professional is probably like I think Device is probably the most professional CS player. Like
What makes him
from
that though?
I think he's just bringing a lot of like the sports psychologists into teams. He's just having a very professional approach to things. Also, like the documentary Stolz just made, they had the, you know, the, uh, he said something, what he said that if you keep grinding, there's always a reason to why you should become better, right? And if you're not playing, then there's no reason to why you should become the best, right? And I think when he has that mindset, I think he's just really good at it. But I think it's also he also has some qualities that doesn't make him the best player. That's why it's simple or Saiwu or whatever, right? And I think to be the best player, you have to be somewhere in the middle of the simple, the Saiwus, the devices. Like device is probably the super professional, simple is the super arrogant, talented, no fucks given player, and Saiwu is just, I think, he's probably more towards the perfect balance. That like he is, of course, the most perfectly balanced right now as it is. Um, but of course, I think that to be the best player, you also have to have some of that symbol that Saiwu is starting to show. But I think it's also why people say symbol is was the best in Go. Is like he just has the personality of I'm better than all of you, and I
Yeah.
don't give a fuck if you think you are better. Like I'll just smash you. And I think to be the perfect player, it's a very fine balance and a lot of hard work. Uh, to be like the in betweens of those three players, I think is like then you're in a really good spot, right?
Yeah, and is that the type of person and player you want to become in, let's say, 5 or 6 years? Imagine it like that. Imagine the situation like that. You look at yourself 5 years from now. What are the qualities that you will have to, like, yourself 5 years later, like your older self will have to possess in order to impress yourself now, in order to impress you looking at him?
I think for me, my biggest strength is still like the craziness. So I think I will never really be a Saiwu. Like, of course he does crazy stuff, but all of it is just like he's just a robot, right? Oh, he clears angles with perfection, and he just always makes the correct decision. And I don't think I'll ever be that. Like, I'll never be Saiwu. The same way, I'll probably never be Device. I'm not as passive as him. I'm not as well calculated as he is. I think for me to be impressed with myself, I think I should probably strive to be more of like the no fucks given symbol, like just more playstyle wise, like just I know I'm better and just go out and kill people, right? And I think that's the best way for me to go. Of course, you have to learn all of the others. Like I'm not saying that okay, I'll just go out and be mechanically better than everyone, but you also have to, have the other things. But I think uh, the way I should try to be the most is just being that I'm mechanically better than people. So let me just keep winning on that.
Okay, okay. I think this is a great point to put an end to our conversation. It's been a great,
Yeah.
even a little bit longer than I
Yes.
wanted it to be. It's been a great 47 minutes. Thank you a lot
Yes.
for joining, and it's
So
been a really pleasant conversation. And I'm gonna give you the chance to actually say the exit words. Is there something that you want to say to everyone that's been supporting you and Sprout as a team?
think thank you to the guys who has been watching us play and supporting in the chat, and especially to the guys with the free tattoos and the cheaters accusations. I think those are the best. Uh, all of the lovely Twitter DMs, I love them. They give me a great laugh every time. Yeah, I think that's how I want to end it.
Okay. So we're gonna end it on that note, ladies and gentlemen. We're not gonna thank everyone for the support. We're gonna thank everyone that's been accused in my boy slime of being a cheater. And we're gonna thank everybody for the nice and personal messages in the Twitter inbox. But yeah, thank you for being with us. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that episode of the TED Talk, and I'll see you really, really soon with another interview. Bye bye. Stay safe.
Bye.